When it comes to building glutes, most people overcomplicate things. They pile their workouts with 10, 12, even 15 different exercises, convinced that variety equals growth. But recent research flips that idea on its head. In a 9-week study, participants who performed just 3 specific glute exercises built the same glute mass as people doing full lower body programs. Not 3 exercises per workout, 3 exercises total. And the results weren't subjective. Researchers measured actual muscle cross-sectional area with MRI scans. We're talking real tissue growth, not looks a little tighter in the mirror fluff. So, why do these 3 exercises work so well? The secret is simple. They challenge your glutes in completely different ways. One targets peak contraction, another targets the glutes under a deep stretch, and the third forces unilateral control and multiplanar stability. Most people randomly pick exercises without understanding this principle, and that's why their glutes stay stuck. You may have done one of these already, maybe even 2, but unless you're hitting all 3 with serious progressive overload, you're leaving gains on the table. Let's break down each movement and why it's non-negotiable for building glutes efficiently. Exercise 1, barbell hip thrust, peak contraction. The first exercise is a game changer, and the research backs it up. The barbell hip thrust. And no, this isn't just hype from fitness influencers. Scientists strapped EMG electrodes to train lifters and measured actual muscle activation. The results? Hip thrust crushed every other lower body exercise. Upper glutes fired at 172% of maximum voluntary contraction, compared to just 85% during back squats. The lower glutes hit 216% versus 130% in squats. That's not a small difference. It's almost double the workload. Simply put, hip thrusts make your glutes work harder, right at the position where they're strongest. Full hip extension. Think about squats for a second. At the top of a squat, your hips are extended and the weight is stacked vertically over your body. Your glutes barely work. At the bottom, in the hole, your glutes are stretched and mechanically weak. Hip thrusts flip that entirely. Maximum load hits at lockout, exactly when your glutes are contracting fully. That's the sweet spot for growth. But there's a common mistake many make. Resistance bands around the knees. People think it activates glutes more. Wrong. Hip thrusts rely on vertical resistance, straight up and down. Adding a band pulling your knees inward introduces lateral resistance, which has nothing to do with hip extension. It just makes the exercise awkward. The real magic happens when you focus on the lockout and peak contraction. Form tips for perfect hip thrusts. Feet should be positioned so your shins stay vertical at the top. Use a bench that supports your shoulders comfortably while allowing a full range of motion. Drive through your heels at the top and squeeze your glutes like you're trying to crack a walnut. Hold for a split second. Hip thrusts isolate your glutes better than squats or deadlifts, minimizing contribution from your quads and lower back. One study even showed that after 9 weeks, both hip thrust and squat groups gained the same glute mass, but hip thrust did it without stressing the knees or lower back. That's efficiency at its finest. Exercise 2, Bulgarian split squats, deep stretch and unilateral load. Next up, the exercise most people hate, but that's exactly why it works. Bulgarian split squats. While hip thrusts hammer the glutes at peak contraction, split squats do something different. They challenge your glutes in a deep stretch position, and each leg works independently. Why is unilateral training so effective? Your body is asymmetrical. One glute is often stronger than the other. When you squat or deadlift bilaterally, your stronger side compensates for the weaker side, leaving one glute underdeveloped. Bulgarian split squats eliminate that cheat code. Each leg must carry its own weight, forcing your weaker glute to catch up. The stretch at the bottom is another growth trigger. Muscles grow best when challenged at long lengths, and when your rear foot is elevated, your front glute stretches under load, creating a stimulus that bilateral exercises simply can't replicate. Foot placement is critical. Push your front foot far enough forward so your shin stays vertical when you descend. Slight forward lean of the torso shifts the load onto the glutes and hamstrings, away from the quads. Rear foot is just for balance. Keep it relaxed. Progressive overload here is straightforward. Start with body weight until the movement feels smooth. Add dumbbells in each hand and eventually a barbell across the back for serious load. Because the exercise is unilateral, your spine experiences less stress than with heavy bilateral squats, but your glutes get crushed just the same. Exercise 3. Step-ups. Dynamic, multiplanar glute activation. Finally, the third exercise covers a part of glute training most programs miss: dynamic multiplanar stabilization. Hip thrusts hit peak contraction. Bulgarian split squats hit deep stretch unilaterally. But your glutes also control rotation, abduction, and stabilization across multiple planes. That's where step-ups come in. Step-ups often get overlooked, but EMG studies consistently rank them among the highest glute activating exercises. Variations like lateral, diagonal, and crossover step-ups all hit 60% plus of maximum voluntary contraction, sometimes exceeding all other exercises tested. Why do step-ups work so well? They force your glute to extend your hip to lift your body upward, stabilize your pelvis to prevent collapsing sideways, control your femur through the full range of motion. Step-ups are all about control, not momentum. Too many lifters bounce themselves onto the box using their trailing leg to cheat. That kills glute activation. Proper form. Plant your foot fully on the box. Shift your weight into your heel and drive through your glute. Fully extend your hip at the top, squeeze, then lower under control. Height matters. Box should allow your hip to flex at least 90 degrees at the bottom. Too low and it's just a calf raise. Too high and your trailing leg cheats. Slight forward torso lean increases glute activation without compromising spinal position. Step-ups also carry over to real-life movements: stairs, climbing, or even jumping, all dynamic single-leg power patterns that translate to athleticism. Why only 3 exercises are enough? Here's the science. Lifters who did just hip thrusts built the same glute mass as those who did only squats. The lesson? More exercises don't equal more growth. What matters is progressive overload on movements that challenge the glutes from different angles. Hip thrusts to peak contraction. Bulgarian split squats to deep stretch plus unilateral load. Step-ups to multiplanar stabilization and dynamic extension. Adding extra exercises often spreads your effort too thin, resulting in junk volume, work that tires you out but doesn't drive growth. EMG data even shows high activation doesn't always predict hypertrophy. Feeling the burn is fun, but mechanical tension is what builds muscle. Common mistakes that kill progress. Bands on everything. Resist the urge to band hip thrusts or squats. Bands add lateral resistance that doesn't contribute to hip extension. Keep vertical loading for maximal glute tension. Confusing burn with growth. Don't chase metabolic fatigue with high rep bodyweight kickbacks. They don't create enough mechanical tension for real hypertrophy. Undereating. You can't build muscle in a calorie deficit. Eat at least maintenance calories, preferably a slight surplus. Ego lifting. Heavy weight with poor form recruits other muscles, not the glutes. Focus on controlled movement. Same rep ranges forever. Glutes have fast and slow twitch fibers. Rotate between heavy or low reps and moderate or high reps to stimulate all fibers. The program. Train glutes 2 to 3 times per week with at least 48 hours between sessions. Here's a simple structure. Hip thrusts. Heavy 6 to 10 reps. Bulgarian split squats. Moderate 8 to 12 reps per leg. Step ups. Moderate 10 to 15 reps, focusing on control. You don't need to hit all 3 exercises every session. Rotate them throughout the week. Progressive overload is everything. When you can hit the top of your rep range with clean form, add weight. Even 5 pounds counts. Beginners should master body weight or light dumbbells first. Advanced lifters can go heavy but spread volume to manage fatigue. Spend 4 to 6 weeks lifting heavy with lower reps, then switch to moderate weight with higher reps. This prevents plateaus and ensures continuous growth. These 3 exercises, hip thrusts, Bulgarian split squats, and step ups, are all you need for glute growth. Focus on progressive overload, correct form, and proper nutrition, and your glutes will grow like never before. Stop wasting time on endless accessory exercises. Master these 3, rotate intelligently, and track your progress. In just 8 weeks, you'll see measurable growth, strength, and aesthetic improvement. Your glute training doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be smart, consistent, and science-backed.